And hi everyone, it's John again here with George for this week's Indie Creative Mastermind, and we're going to talk about how the being real on the internet and online and social media, what the importance of that is for your brand, and how that can help you to connect with your fans and audience. So, I think maybe like the first thing is just for me, one of the things I was thinking about today was how I'm actually on a project where I'm working with animation and helping a client. Basically, they want to. It's a music video, and they want it to be funny and stuff. And the thing is about like funny, I think, is that when you try to be funny, everyone knows it. It's just something that's one of those things that like what's funny about being funny is that in the end, it's still about being authentic. It's still about keeping it real. And it is this kind of fine line though, because on the other hand, what's funnier sometimes is this kind of like other reality, like kind of just some comedians we know, right, have their own way of like kind of distorting reality of the way they describe things to the way they kind of like are physically funny and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things that I'm thinking about is like kind of how even if your thing is comedy and like kind of where you're creating this kind of reality in way, it's still about being real and stuff. And then the thing that I think I want to share about like kind of authenticity is that like being real is like where I think people tend to think of how it's about what people worry about is about sharing too much, and really I think it's like where there is a certain degree of where it becomes TMI, but up to then you have to kind of really find your way, find what it is like kind of works with your audience and stuff. They want to like know what it is that like kind of you're about and stuff like that. And it goes back to some of the other talks we've had about storytelling, about just different times, like kind of really continuing to build on a relationship and stuff like that. These are all things that like they're like it's not as though one is better than the other. It's all connected. So what are some of the things that like you also share, George, when you talk with different people you work with about like kind of when they say like, oh, I'm not sure if I should put that on social media, or when they worry about those kinds of things. Oh, yeah, it looks like unfortunately kind of have a one of those nights, I guess, with the connection and stuff like that. So we'll just make do with what we can. Um, One of the things I try to share at different times is that it's a sense of like kind of getting a feel for what is like kind of um, the things that like your audience cares about and the things that like you want to share. We had a past guest who basically he was asking about like, or he was like basically putting on social media things about his family stuff, and to some degree that's fine, but I think it's like there's a line after which it's like kind of after which your fans really like they may think it's cool that you have a family and like you share some of that glimpses of it, but after a certain point like kind of if it's not as relevant to what it is that you're sharing your music or what it is that like your fans really care about, then it's there's only so much point to doing that then. So I think that's one area is like kind of just like showing different parts and showing that you're a real person, but just also getting a sense of what really resonates or what connects with your fans and your audience. Is that some of the things that you also talk about, George? No. Yeah, right now, unfortunately, we're not even getting audio there, and I guess this is just like one of those things about a live show. Is just different times you have to kind of roll with what's happening. Oh, sounds like you're back. At least we have sound. We're not quite getting picture, but no worries, no worries. We are getting some sound though, so I'm at least able to hear your keyboard and So it seems like you can kind of talk. Oh, dropping out. Okay. Well, we'll just kind of press on a bit. John, I see you're on here. I don't know if you want to join on. I will invite you to be in the other seat if you'd like. Thank you for coming by, though. Definitely appreciate your support. And we're hoping also that Brandon will be here, but not sure if he will be joining us. Anyways, the other thing that I find with just being real and stuff is that different times, I think what happens with social media is that we tend to only put on our best game face and hey, we got picture and audio. Woohoo! we tend to put on our best impression, and like a part of it is like kind of where we're always told with job interviews and all that kind of stuff is like kind of nothing like making a first impression and stuff. Yeah, that's really important, and it's that's a start, but yet at the same time you want to move beyond that, because if it's about building relationship, if it's about building trust, then just even like right now, we're having problems with the internet, and we admit it that the technology is not perfect and stuff. We're not perfect different times. I've been late for different appointments and all that kind of stuff. But like the thing is, I do my best to be honest with my clients why it is that things didn't quite work out. Keep them updated, and different times, like kind of people will trust you more when you let them know what's really going on and stuff. And that's more important different times than being perfect or putting on this image of being perfect. So that's one of the things that I like to share with clients, is letting them know that like just be upfront about what it is that's working, what's not, and stuff. And there's, to me, it's not so much about successes and failures as there are things that work out as planned and things that you learn. That's more, to me, what's important.
I've got a list of 5 things that I would say are my top things that I would suggest for people that are really trying to be authentic online.
Awesome.
And the number one thing is, it should go without saying, but to build trust. But that takes a long time to do. So Don't get frustrated if you're the guy, you're the entrepreneur, the man or woman with the business, the idea, the whatever. Don't get frustrated when things don't happen right online right away. I mean, this is a thing that you're saying, okay, this is going to be my reputation that I'm building. Look at your online presence as your reputation that's now real. So now you have an opportunity to build this thing. So building trust takes a long time. So when you approach this authenticity thing, you're okay with it taking 2 years or 3 years. You're okay with it taking 18 months or 12 months. I mean, it's not just this overnight thing. So to be authentic, to be real, you have to have some level of trustworthiness. So you yourself, as far as, time management or just going into it, managing expectations, you should expect this thing that you're doing online for social media to be a long haul type of a thing. It's not going to be this overnight success thing. Okay, so that's number one. Number 2 is to show your social presence. You don't want to be one of these people that's most likely the way your fans are. You're just thumbing through. We can all do that, but we really want to show them that we are here. If we already see the person's post, hey, take the time to comment on there. Take the time to like it. Take the time to share something that one of your fans are actually putting out there. So, showing your social presence is very important, because maybe in 1 week or 2 weeks or whenever another fan, somebody else comes to that particular like page of somebody else, and then they can actually see your comment there. They can see what you're about. And plus you get a little bit of real estate space on their comment right there, because as soon as you leave something there for somebody else to read, you now get to live there on that space. If you don't say anything, your name will never be underneath that picture or that post. The next thing is, I would say, really listen. Your audience, your target audience, the people that you want to do business with, they're already saying a certain thing. They're saying a specific thing that should help you to close a deal or should help you to relieve their pain quicker because they're telling you what they want. So if you listen by reading the timelines a little bit more carefully, you'll do a lot better with being able to provide the proper information that's gonna help your client or your customer. The next thing is, just like John did earlier when we had the problem with the technology. Right now, I'm still having technology problems. It's saying poor internet signal. I don't know. John, are you still on?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you. So maybe you're not getting
audio
on the
only
other
over
end,
here. So I'm like, I don't know if it's fully working, but I guess it is. I'm going to keep going. Owning mistakes, that's another one of the things about authenticity is we do make a lot of mistakes. We're human. It's all good. Just own it. I mean, that's it. It's very easy. It's like, hey, dude, I messed up. I effed up. I suck. We're going to move forward. We're going to move on. But a lot of times companies or people don't like to do that. Like, well, what happened was this. Don't even try to explain your way out of something. If you made a mistake about something, hey, that was a mistake. I've seen smaller businesses, entrepreneurs, a lot of mistakes on ads. Instead of 20%, the ad person put 45%. Well, that could kill your business. If you're a small operation, so say we made a mistake, but we will honor whatever, additional 5% or something. But if you guys made a genuine mistake, just own up to it. And then the last thing is that I feel like to be authentic online right now, these things can change. Is to be responsive. When people send you a message, and you don't know where they're going to want this responsiveness from. Some people will comment on a comment or a post. Some people will send you an inbox message. Some people will email you. So out of all these different things, what is your strategy for your response rates? I mean, as a company, are you guys okay with 24 hours? As a company, are you guys okay with no, nothing goes longer than 3 hours? I mean, what is your level of acceptance? What's your level of, okay, we can accept this. This is within our standards. So for authenticity, I'm going to go back through the list. Build trust. So just managing your own expectations. Just know there's going to be a long time to do this thing, to be authentic online. Socialize your presence. Just show people you're there. Comment on stuff. Talk to people. Really build that real relationship. Listen to your audience. Listen to what they're saying. People are telling you what they want. They really are. I mean, they're blabbing at the mouth. They're telling you what they want. Just listen. If you're online anyways, gather that information. It's very valuable to you. And then owning your mistakes. You guys, if you want to build an authentic profile, it's okay to say you guys made some mistakes sometimes. It's okay to not look like an android all the time. And then being responsive. If people are really trying to finally communicate with you, everything we're doing is so somebody communicates with us. So if they finally step out and communicate with us, what's our plan to talk back? And this reminds me of a story. I was in high school. We used to go cruising down in Fresno for the chicks, and I had this 1990 Chevy Cavalier, bunch of dudes were like, and we rolled right next to this group of really, really pretty girls. We're like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, we said whatever we said. And they were actually responsive. They're like, oh, yeah, what's going on? You guys are cool. Pull over. We're like, what the hell? And we took off because we never expected girls to ever say anything back to us. So it's like the same thing with social media. When somebody finally starts talking back, are you ready for that? What do you say now? What's that next step look like? and so right now, start thinking about that. While people are not talking back to you, don't get frustrated. Start thinking about, okay, when they do start talking to us, what will we say? Because now it's beyond the, hey, check us out, please talk to us. Okay, cool, I'm going to talk to you. Then what? You got to be ready for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the things that we tend to do is just like kind of the whole dog chasing cars things, like where I think a dog doesn't really think about what's it going to do when it catches the car, and I think in business we can sometimes be like that. We're chasing fans, or we're chasing clients and stuff like that, and we don't think about like, okay, what's that, you know, next step, and like kind of, you know, how do we continue the dialogue, how do we continue the relationship and stuff. And really, like, sometimes it is a thing of experience and kind of, you know, figuring out what it is that, like, kind of how do you kind of proceed, stuff like that. But the other thing I think is more important is just simply, you know, I talk about it different times, is the idea of being curious and like kind of, you know, not assuming you know what is best for your fans or what's best for your clients and stuff like that, but just like find out, like, welcome, Ms. Graham, and just basically learn about them, learn about what matters to them and what it is that they value. And that's really, like you said, you know, about listening and like kind of whether it's through social media or other times engaging, you know, like, and that's why one of the things why I shifted our model from going originally to using Hangouts to Blab, because I feel like Blab offers a more open forum and more, you know, possibility to kind of have conversations that really matter to, you know, like the people that like are either following you or that maybe just are interested in the things that you're talking about. In other words, you know, different times, I think it's great that like maybe somebody that wouldn't know about you otherwise just happen to kind of catch your title or something that you said, you know, like you tweeted about and stuff like that, that then they, you know, are interested in and then join the conversation. So definitely, you know, those are kind of the things that like really I feel is just as important, is simply to kind of, you know, find out what it is that matters. Because here's the other thing too, is that too many times people either, and especially indie creatives, is that we tend to be an artist. We tend to just put out our art, you know, the whole build it and they will come thing. I think the other side of it is to basically be an entrepreneur. And to me, an entrepreneur is that getting that feedback, taking it on board, and then just developing your craft based on that, like producing whether it's a book or a album or movie, based on what it is that your fans really find, you know, unique and that identify with and stuff like that. So that comes as an extension of that authenticity. In other words, you're not simply doing something simply for them, but you're learning about what it is that, like, what it is that you have in common between what they're looking for and what it is that you're about. Like, for example, one of the actors I really admire is Robert De Niro. And the thing is about him is if you watch his movies, he's not simply creating something that like isn't part of him. What really works to me is how he's authentic in a given moment. You know, like just whether he's Raging Bull or he's The Godfather. The thing is, though, you know when you're watching a movie with De Niro that it's De Niro. You know, like even like Meet the Parents. You know, like kind of that's what's funny. It's like kind of, and going back to our discussion earlier about comedy and stuff, is that he's still De Niro. You know that's him, even though it's like some roles are more serious and some are like more, and then you have these roles that's comedy and stuff, but it's still him. He's still being authentic and being true to himself. He's not like trying to fake something that, you know, like, because the thing is, though, like what you when you watch a performance of an actor, you really see it in a moment that, like, if they're trying too hard to be funny or they're trying to be something they're not and stuff, it comes across. And so that's what's funny about it, is that, like, you know, there's probably some part of him that is this kind of gangster or stuff like that, and it's like kind of that's what's really also great about a great director, is that they bring out of these actors this performance. It's something that like is there, that like is just dormant, but then waiting for, you know, the actor to kind of bring out and stuff like that. So I'm kind of curious too, on some projects I know that you shot, you're working with different, you know, artists for either their music or, you know, different videos and stuff like that. What do you do to kind of try to, or for that matter, as a photographer, what do you do to bring out, you know, the authentic, you know, what's authentic in the performer or the
Well,
art?
a lot of times I'm spending my time explaining to entrepreneurs and business owners how to be authentic about their company and their business and their organization. And the main three things that we talk about are personality, values, and opinions. Because it's okay to have a personality online. You're supposed to. Your values need to shine through with the stuff you're talking about, the stuff you're reposting about, the stuff you're sharing. And then your opinions, I got to kind of know that you do stand for something. And this is where companies, I feel like, are a little bit scared, a little bit gun shy because of the whole PC. You know, they want to be politically correct about everything. And sometimes the professional me says, fuck that, because fuck that, you know? And so I need to know what you stand for. I need to know, what is this company I'm about to do business with? What are you about? And if you show me that you have some personality, if you show me that you actually have some opinions, you show me that your values are in line with my values, I will much more quickly join your tribe. I will want to be a part of that. It's not joining a tribe. It's saying, oh, there's more of my tribesmen. There's more of the people that see the way I see. And, you know, as an artist, as a creative, whether it's a model or an actor or, you know, somebody coming in new to entertainment, if I'm about to point this camera right at them, I have this talk with them and saying, listen, I can take pictures of anything, buildings that don't even move, and they come out beautiful. That's not what this is about. When I push this button, we're trying to capture something. We're trying to see something about you that makes you unique. You know, what's your differentiation factor? And then now I start talking about some of the stuff that I start using with the companies and the organizations. I'm using it with the creatives and the artists. And that sometimes makes things spark, because a creative hasn't really looked at themselves as the entity, as the organization, as the product, you know, as the service provider. Early on in the indie world, as an indie creative, as an indie entrepreneur, it's really, really hard to start seeing yourself as the thing that makes the money, or as the thing that people are hiring. Because, you know, right now, as you're talking, John, joining the conversation is something that you say. Well, I understand that because I'm a social media guy, but joining the conversation is not something necessarily that a model or an actor or a small business owner or a real estate agent or somebody else that's not necessarily in marketing, an indie creative would do, because they don't know that they should join a conversation. They're looking at social media as, I personally need to post my
stuff. Second there, hopefully we'll get him back. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point that he was making about the idea that different times, you know, it's about basically having this conversation that, you know, really, you know, I feel that one of the things that's really lacking different times is, you know, like, or for that matter, there's too much of is fear of, you know, like, one of the recent ones that comes to mind is Starbucks, and how, you know, I feel like they're just kind of basically been the whipping boy for the holidays. It's like it's been one thing after another about what it is that they are allowed to post or to have on their cups even and stuff. And I think that's really gone to an extreme. And you know, I think it's like kind of luckily, I think for small businesses and entrepreneurs and indies and stuff, we have a lot more freedom and a lot more of, you know, or the need to be kind of curious. And I want to open things up a little bit to some folks about, you know, if they'd like to share either their questions or their stories about kind of the ways that, like, they feel that authenticity has, you know, either helped them or possibly hurt them. You know, like, kind of let's talk about kind of some of the ways that, like, you've struggled with, you know, being real and like kind of, you know, your concerns different times of kind of basically connecting with your audience in a very genuine fashion and stuff, and not kind of feeling the need to kind of you know, hold things back. Yeah, sorry, Shelly. Looks like we're having some trouble with the connection. So yeah, I'm gonna keep things going for a bit. Hopefully, we'll get back to the better connection. And yeah, it's definitely part of the whole thing with you know, Blab. It's really uses a lot of bandwidth, and you know, I'm different times I've been kind of looking at switching and kind of doing what I can with the internet. But right now, I'm just doing what I can with what we have and stuff. So thanks so much for your patience, and really appreciate your kind of working with it and stuff. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I don't know if you can hear me right now. Can you still hear me at all? Okay, great. Thanks so much for that. So yeah, I just definitely want to open things up a little bit, invite folks to kind of talk about, the ways that they've shared, you know, with their audience, something that's real and personal. Like one of the other examples that I found has really been powerful lately. I'm still finishing up the School of Greatness with Lewis Howes, and one of the most powerful things that he's done recently on a podcast was to talk about a traumatic childhood experience and stuff. It was very real, very raw, and and I know that Lewis is kind of person. He didn't do it just to like, it wasn't to kind of make himself look good or to kind of get more listeners in like that. He was just wanting to kind of let people know that like you can overcome some of the most challenging things and stuff. And so he's, to me, somebody who lives courageously and lives by example. And I think that's something we haven't talked about yet. But like we talked about the fear side and all that, but really, like in the end, it's about like it's not so much about kicking fear in the teeth or anything like that. It's about taking the steps that you can and kind of pushing against the fear. Like kind of leaning into it is part of the way that I would think of it. And another person who really talks about this is Liz Gilbert of Eat, Pray, Love, and recently of Big Magic. She really talks about the idea that like people are so much about, or one of the things that like they like to say is to like kind of like, oh, like kind of like fear is your friend. Like kind of, to me, like it's not to say that like you should listen to fear. You just, what it is like kind of not letting fear drive, because it's not going to take you where you want to go, but at the same time not to ignore it and to not to listen to it to where it basically controls like your decisions. So that's like kind of, to me, where you draw the line. And unless you draw that line and stuff, one of the things that I've really been sharing with artists and creatives and stuff is the idea of the hero's journey. And really, to me, like Joseph Campbell, this video that I've shared is really powerful. I'll see if I can dig it up real quick. Is the idea that like anything you want in life is about pushing against that fear, not to like kind of, but to kind of embrace it and stuff. And I know it's kind of like a hard concept and stuff, but in a few days, the next Star Wars is coming on, and one of the most powerful images for me was in The Empire Strikes Back, in the second movie, where basically second to me in the kind of the true trilogy. But anyways, not to get too geeky, to me, like when Luke faces Vader in the caves and stuff, like, and then when he strikes him down, to see that who he was or who ultimately he struck and stuff like that was himself. To me, that was like a great metaphor of how it's about that. It's about facing ourselves in the fear, and that's one of the things that like I find like really powerful about And so where this is all going to is the idea that like in the end, all the stuff like kind of authenticity about like kind of our brand and all that kind of stuff is really about facing our own fears. And then that's really what, in the end, by doing that, we also are not only giving others permission to do that, which like then we're showing them that like like that's what we're hoping that they also can do, that we're showing them the way. In a way, we're leading them through doing that. And to me, that's more powerful than any time you say something or like kind of write something about like like be courageous, all that kind of stuff. It's like the people, to me, like like or just like kind of your parents, like where the most powerful things that they can do to kind of teach you is by showing you what it means to be courageous, what it means to kind of face your fears. And so again, like I guess, oh, okay, hopefully we'll have George be able to kind of get back on and stuff. Oh, there we go. Yay! Looks like
Oh my
all right, and he's back. Okay. Yeah, just I guess just do what you can and stuff, and that's all we can do. So so definitely, I'm also kind of curious about like kind of what folks, what you would like to do in the new year to kind of face your fears, to kind of take on some things that like you maybe have been afraid to kind of share. Like to me, like my writing has really improved exponentially because of the fact that like different times now I'm a lot less afraid to kind of share things that I used to kind of really think was either embarrassing or to kind of that like I hesitated to share and stuff. And I feel like this kind of beyond the freedom stuff is that like it just there's something about it that like kind of allows me to kind of flow more. I guess that's the thing that I would say is that like people talk about creativity and how writer's block and all that kind of stuff, and we know that fear is definitely one of the key problems with writer's block and stuff. And I feel that like when you start kind of really leaning into it and kind of facing your fears and stuff, it just kind of triggers something that like you're training yourself that like what it is that like is okay. Like it's just basically I think you're telling some part of yourself that like it's okay to kind of go to these other places to like again, it's not a thing of like kind of like one of the things that I've also shared is the idea of like people talk about passion and kind of find your passion and follow your passion and stuff. What I say is about curiosity, is about the idea of like kind of again it's the same idea of like leaning into it and kind of checking things out, being curious about your fans and your followers and stuff, and really like exploring. That's really maybe another way to kind of explain it, is not to like kind of leap before you look and stuff, but just kind of really finding out, discovering what it is that like fans care about, asking them like kind of what it is that like really like kind of lights them up and stuff. And that's one of the things that I like to ask different times when I have a guest on my other show on Thursdays, is basically what is it that like lights you up at night, like, or in first thing in the morning and stuff, like kind of what it is that like really compels you to kind of create your art. And that's one of the things that I feel that like when you start exploring that, it's like kind of the other things start really kind of coming with that, like not only as the creativity start flowing, but I find that like then people start connecting and following you just because like there's something about like when it's like that musician or that dancer that you admire and stuff, like when you see that that they found that something that they're really passionate about and stuff, that it lights them up. It's kind of it's contagious, and that's one of the things that I love sharing as well. Is that basically the importance of having that yeah, it's not so much about jumping into something and being passionate, but it's about discovering the things that you're passionate about, and then that's the kind of thing that like the people that will ultimately start following you will resonate with. They'll just also identify with what it is that like kind of lights you up and stuff. So that's one of the things that I really share all the time now, whether it's somebody who's like asking about starting a business to somebody who's basically trying to figure out their next crowdfunding campaign. It's really like kind of no matter what it is, whether it's your project or your the work that you're trying to do and stuff like that, it's really about just kind of having that curiosity and then kind of discovering, and then through that process like it's ultimately these things start coming out more and more about that these are other aspects of you, like, because that's the thing that I also have a hard time with initially, was to just write about one thing. Like I love online marketing, I love social media and stuff, but I found that like I wanted to share about these things, these ideas about creativity, wanted to kind of share the different things about entrepreneurship. I love sharing about Argentine tango and food and travel, So these are different things I blog about, and then I find that, like, for me, it's about doing this on different platforms, on different media and stuff, on different blogs. It's not about just simply, any one place. It's not simply about any one topic and stuff. I think we're going to kind of, it seems like unfortunately we're kind of having difficulties with our connection tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and end things short a little bit. And definitely, next week will probably be, I think we might have one more indie mastermind before we kind of call it a wrap for the season and stuff. So thanks for joining, and really appreciate all the support and stuff like that. Let me know, tweet, or kind of contact me on Facebook. Two main places that are really easy to connect with me. Let me know what it is that we can do to kind of help you with your business in the coming year and stuff. So thank you, George. Sorry about kind of the internet connection on things not quite working for you and stuff like that. And definitely we'll look forward to kind of connecting next week, and hopefully we'll have clear internet signals and stuff. So take care, everyone.